This is Bryan Lincoln, producer of Hidden Harbor Mysteries. I'm back with 3 more interviews with the cast. First, I'll be talking with Johnny Feisty, who plays Foster. Then I'll talk with Pat Krane, who played a variety of characters for the show. And finally, I'll talk to Norm Sherman, who played Detective Horn, a very prominent character in the second half of the show. I hope you enjoy. I'm here this time with Johnny Feisty, who played the character of Foster, the love interest in Hidden Harbor Mysteries. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Bryan.
So the first question that I'm asking everyone on the cast that's doing one of these is just to ask, did you have fun playing the role?
Oh yeah, it was great. I love old timey radio dramas, and so it was really fun to kind of put on that 40s affectation.
Yeah, I really liked your voice in this, and you were a pretty easy choice to include in the cast because I think you have a voice that lends itself to that very well. Like, I could imagine you pulling it off immediately.
Oh, that's how I talk at home all the time.
Now, have you done much other voice acting? Like, what is your background with audio? I know that you've been involved in podcasting for quite a while now.
Yeah, I've been doing podcasting for a few years, and I've been doing sort of bits and pieces of voice acting here and there, mostly for friends' projects, similar to Hidden Harbor Mysteries. But most of my acting background was when I was in college. I did a couple of years of theater classes and did some small theater plays and community theater stuff. And then not much acting for quite a while until the last several years, I guess. Took a break. I'm old.
Yeah, but when you do your podcast, you like to do a lot of different voices, right? You play around a lot that way.
Yeah, I started off doing podcasts where it was fairly normal, and then because I do weird voices, they ended up being written in, especially for TV Copilot. The one I've been doing for, 2 or 3 years now. I forget, a little over 2 years maybe. There have been literally dozens now of different characters and at least 5 or 6 different voices.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's new characters all the time, and it's just me, so I don't know what I was thinking.
So that's TV Copilot. Is that you're doing a couple podcasts now, right?
Yeah, so that's the one I've been doing the longest. Sort of, it's been on and off, but it's getting ready to wrap up the second season, and then I'm sort of relaunching with a different twist for a new quote-unquote season. Mm-hmm. I'm working on a show called Catching Up with Kim Price of Ladies Elite and Ralph from AIE, where we do. Right now, we're in the middle of season 4 of Doctor Who. We're trying to run through the entirety of the reboot of Doctor Who. That is, and then my ambient self-help music podcast, which is called Sleeping, which is a weekly. It's been on for a few months. It's a weekly 15-minute ambient music program. It's hard to explain, but it's that's what it is.
Yeah, and I wanted to point that out too, is that you're way into music as well.
Yes. So
this is going to appear in the feed before the episodes start dropping, but when you listen to it and you hear me give credit to Juicy Mel and Jim at the end for the outro music, that's Johnny Feisty who put that together.
Yeah, Johnny Feisty is also Juicy Mel and Jim. All sorts of fun names.
Yeah, I really like the song I picked. It's the instrumental version of Here We Go Again for the first time.
Oh yeah,
I really have fun with that. Yeah, and you have an album now too. You do all kinds of different styles. You just play around a lot, don't you? From your SoundCloud mix.
Yeah, I've played. My SoundCloud is, 40 or 50 songs now on there. It's all different kinds of stuff. I used to, when I quit doing theater 20 years ago, I did music for about a decade, and so that's still kind of 50% of my time and energy is put toward musical stuff. I've got one thing on iTunes right now, which is it's a 5-song sort of electronic robot voice. Somewhat of a concept album called 80s Volume 1. I've got another 2 EPs getting ready they're in the process of being mixed and mastered and waiting for some artwork. But I'm going to have 1 or 2 more up by the end of the year on iTunes and Amazon and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and those are all Juicy Mel and Jim projects.
Cool. Awesome. I look forward to hearing more from you in that way. I like a lot of the different kinds of things that you do. I think it's really unique.
Yeah, for all the people who liked the last one that was electronic robots, the next one is going to be kind of like pop songs about being friends with people. There's a 5-song electronic instrumental album about planets that's coming out shortly thereafter. So yeah, each one is different. So hopefully my fans won't be too judgmental.
I don't think so. I think this is a great age to be doing that kind of thing, because you when you release things on the web, you can try different things out and really vary it. You're not trying to please some sort of a label or something who just wants the same thing over and over again. It lets you do what really motivates you to work on. So it's the same thing with audio drama. Like I'm only going to work on projects that really are fun for, like, really get my attention, and they're going to be very different one to the next, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I thought this was so cool. Like this Hidden Harbor Mysteries project, with so many people who work on, like, I guess fall under the things that fall under the umbrella of like speculative fiction now, a lot of sci-fi and fantasy type stuff, and being able to do, jump into like a sort of classic mystery radio drama, or a take on a, classic radio drama.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I wanted to do it as well, was getting on board with this was, if I'm going to start doing it, my first full just solo produced audio drama, it would be good to start with something that has sort of roots in the history, in the style, before I try to do anything too modern and different.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot. I'm just trying to mimic the old sound, to playing around with sound effects and Foley and that kind of stuff has been just a ton of fun. And it's absolutely that. It's informed by the history.
And it's the kind of thing that's ingrained in, like, especially for people in America, like kind of ingrained in your subconscious. Like there are so many things that kind of tie back into that style of drama that, even if you never listened to old shadow broadcasts or something, like everybody knows that kind of announcery voice, and the way people now sounds like overacting so much, like all that stage acting for radio that people used to do.
Yeah, and I've heard, and I know you do it well, and some of the podcasters that we like to listen to, like Scott Johnson does a great old time voice when he jumps into it, that kind of thing. And yeah, there's definitely people in podcasting that have leaned on that sound here and there, and it's fun. So
yeah, just give me a megaphone and I'm all over it.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on, and glad people can find out about your stuff, especially because it's not in the audio drama realm. It's music and podcasts that are more entertainment podcasts, comedy type stuff. And I really like people to be able to find that stuff after listening to our show, because a lot of times you bury the cool stuff that some of the cast does on like a web page under a link or something, and I like to have people able to hear a little bit about what people do. So thanks for coming on.
Like looking over the list of people that were working on this, I forgot how many people were doing it, and to see all the different types of backgrounds people have is really crazy.
Yeah, I try to pull people from all different angles, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's part of what makes it so much fun for me. All right, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, Bryan.
I'm here with Pat Krane, who played a variety of characters in Hidden Harbor. How are you doing, Pat?
Alive and well.
That's good.
Unlike my characters.
Hey, you have some memorable deaths in this show, so.
Well, thank you very much. And as we were talking about before actually recording this, it takes a lot of work to. You actually want to rehearse how you die. You know exactly why you die, and be able to convey that to the crowd somehow. And I hope it came through okay.
No, it was a lot of fun. I always appreciated the people that I asked for sort of the ensemble, where I'm like, okay, I need like these 4 or 5 characters, and they're all completely different. And I knew you were the kind of person that could deliver on that. And it's always exciting getting those lines in and seeing what you get.
Well, and it's cool when I get stuff from you, because I know that every character is going to be different, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
So I have to find out how I'm doing each one differently as well, because I mean, there's a big difference between like Rat on the page, from Hidden Harbors, and he's, kind of a smart dude, kind of, and you want to be able to portray that a little bit differently from, the big thug or whatever it is. And so it's always kind of a unique experience to get those creative juices going with the voice work. It's nice.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you know how to prepare for a role like that, but was it also a lot of fun with this script? Like, that's the first question I've been asking people, is if they had fun doing it.
I always have fun with this stuff, and especially, maybe it's just me, but we were talking about dying again. These characters, many of my characters die in this thing, and I actually have a blast with that because it really, I close the studio door, and I scream a lot.
It's life and death, man.
It's kind of cathartic, It's good.
Yeah, pretty much whenever I need a character that's going to have some screaming to do, I know I can count on you, so that's good.
You bet, man. I am here for you.
Well, I know you have a lot of range, partly from the kind of clips you do on your podcast. Well, one of your podcasts is a Warcraft podcast, and you do a lot of fun, high-end production, little segments on there. And first of all, you're amazing at them. They're awesome.
Thank you.
But secondly, I know you know how to tell a story, audio, how to really bring, a character to life with different kinds of voices and really get into it. So, I mean, it was really my pleasure to be able to work with you on this one.
Yeah, it was cool, man. And I've been a part of radio for a long time, since I was, I want to say since I was a teenager, I've really been into creating characters, and I was a theater nerd for a long time, and then I was also a music nerd at the same time, and then I got into radio, and I was a radio nerd for a long. I'm still am a radio nerd, and dramatics and music and everything has just kind of built up and into this wonderful world that I live in, where I can retreat to from time to time, and definitely with a project like this, it really kind of makes it all kind of come together.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for people that are finding this show, a lot of people will just be audio drama fans who heard about it, so they won't necessarily realize the diversity of the cast and crew that have helped put it together. So I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about some other shows that you have, so that they can, discover something cool that they might not have even known to look for.
Sure. Well, some people might know me from my World of Warcraft podcast, like you were talking about. It's called Convert to Raid, and it is for guys that have been in the game for a while and are playing kind of the end game of the actual MMORPG. That's what it's called. Massively online role-playing game. So there's that one. I also have a TV show called That TV Show. We were like, what should we call it? And then we went for something simple.
Yep. I like it.
Let's just call it this. Sure, that's good. And there's more stuff in the works. I actually love the podcasting community that we've been able to kind of create. And you are a part of that community as well, with the Signals Media All-Star Network over at signalsmedia.com. That's kind of my baby, and I think that everybody should go over there for more great shows on gaming and entertainment and voice stuff as well. And it's all really cool to see these podcasters come together and create individually, but kind of come together as a community. It's kind of surreal that it's all kind of coming together, and it's pretty cool. I like it a lot.
Well, Convert to Raid has been wildly successful. I mean, you have like gatherings of people that fly out to visit you each year. I mean,
it was weird. So we actually have a couple of different meetups that we've done. So we've done one at BlizzCon, which is the one for Blizzard Media.
Right.
They make the game. And we had a huge meetup out there. We had about 1,000 people come through the door of this very small venue and make everybody sweat bullets. It's great. But I've also had some really weird things happen with a Minnesota meetup as well, because I'm from Minnesota. So every year for the last 3 years, I've had a meetup, and we usually get about 3 dozen people, somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm.
And this year we had a guy from Sweden come in.
Wow.
Just for the weekend.
That's awesome.
It was weird. It was so strange. And so we talked World of Warcraft with him. He came in and he said, I came from Sweden. I'm like, here, have a t-shirt. You get one automatically.
You're like, should I cook you dinner? Like, I feel like.
That'd be great. So we just had a really good time. I was just out at PAX this last weekend, and we had kind of this impromptu meetup, and we still had like a dozen people come out, and it's fun meeting all these different people that are somehow, I don't know how, they're entertained by the stuff that I've been a part of, which is really great. And it's so nice to connect with those guys and kind of see what's going on in their worlds as well. And there's like I was talking about before, there's actually more stuff coming. I have more stuff coming down the line, but it's all going to be on signalsmedia.com. So check out that place and see what's going on.
There's quite a range of shows over there, so you can find some podcasts you might not have even been looking for.
Yep, there's music, there's gaming, there's TV, there's entertainment, there's your full cast podcast is over there, and everything. So I mean, it's pretty diverse, and there's more coming.
I've really enjoyed a few of the shows on there for sure that I would have thought to look for. So that's pretty cool. I mean, have you gotten used to, like, with these meetups and things? Have you gotten used to people seeming to know you so much? Like, I feel like that.
It's strange. It's strange because I do put a lot of myself into all the shows that I do because it's very personal to me. You know what I mean? And that's kind of one of the things about all these podcasts is that you put a lot of yourself into them. And it's pretty interesting when people say, oh, hey, how's your dog doing? Because I have a puppy and it's been a big part of my life for the last, few months. And so somebody actually asked, so how's your puppy doing? Is she losing teeth now? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God. How do you respond to that? And then you go, and what do you do? or and what is your name?
Yeah, exactly. It's such a weird, like, I know, like, some of the people I listened to in early podcasts, I just felt like I knew them so well. And then at some point you're like, wait a minute, they have no idea I even exist. Like, that's the thing with this very regular episodic shows. I mean, people get to know you just from the banter, the little bit of banter you have before you get into the topic that you're usually focused on for the show. I mean, there's just so much sharing through there, and it's a brave thing to do. I mean, it's a little strange to have people know you that well. You're a little naked.
It's so cool at the same time, and so heartwarming to know that I can be a part of somebody else's life without actually physically being there and saying, Steve, how's it going? Yeah, instead, I'm just kind of talking in general, but it's nice that I'm able to kind of reach out and kind of affect these people's lives in a positive way. Yeah. Or at least I hope it's positive. Geez, wouldn't that suck if it was negative?
Well, but I mean, you also get people like you. I think one of your strengths is you just have you're just a nice guy. I mean, for people but for people to be in that limelight and to actually appreciate their fans, I think is an important part of the whole picture.
It's easy to take it for granted, really, because when you're a podcaster, a lot of the times all you see are numbers. You see number of downloads. You see, kind of where they're at in the country. If you have, the breakouts like most podcasters do, I guess, you can kind of see where they're from and what they're using for a device, whether it's iTunes or whatever it is. And so you get those numbers, you get the stats, and it's so easy to take a look at that as the end product. But I take a look at the conversations I'm having. That's what's most important to me is having a conversation with kind of a greater audience, I guess. But from little instances, from what I know within the communities that I'm a part of and all that kind of stuff, I really love having those conversations.
So final question. So you have a lot of experience with voiceover. I mean, if you go to patkrane.com, you see like demo reels and stuff. So you're pretty serious about the voice stuff, whether it's hardware or whether it's just learning how to perform. Like, what's your chief piece of advice for anyone that gets interested in trying to do some voice acting?
Learn how to act. Really, that is the biggest thing. If you don't know how to act, it won't matter how well you work a microphone.
Yeah.
if you don't know acting, you cannot voice act. And so get whatever instruction you can. I'd like, take several different courses in your local college. I have no idea. Or go, take an improv class. That's what I did. I took an improv class, and it opened me up just to a bunch of different new experiences. And it was really great. And I took it for like almost a year and just improv all the time.
Was that recent or a while back?
It was in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was really helpful to be able to kind of come up with something on the spot that seemed real. Mm-hmm. It was totally from my head.
That's cool.
And from other people's heads too, and working together, trying to get things done. I mean, it was a lot of cooperation. There was a lot of, having to, in improv, you have to agree with the other person. So if they say something, automatically it is true.
Right.
Not shut them down. Whatever they say is absolutely right. Mm-hmm. And there are, rules to everything, and you try to follow the rules, and you're trying not to laugh, and you're trying.
Right.
It's like all those different things. It's great. But also take classes, find a coach, find an acting coach, find a voice acting coach. These are the biggest things next to hardware that you can get to. Once you get into that stuff, then the hardware stuff, I think, will kind of take care of itself.
Yeah. Just take advice from others that have done it and try things out, and you can start small and grow it. I mean, that's kind of what I've done. And
the nice part is that there are a lot of options out there for voice actors. The biggest problem is that there's a lot of competition. So you have to be better than the next guy. Whatever it is, make sure you decide what you want to be better at.
Yeah.
Do you want to be better at turnaround? Do you want to be better at acting? Do you want to be better at how you produce things, or some kind of combination of that?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that there are probably other things you could be awesome at too, like voices, like just multiple character voices.
Right.
Or like a specific niche of voice acting. Like, I am really great at movie trailers because I have a voice that is perfect for movie trailers, or, radio imagery, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And really fine tune your instrument. But if you don't start out with acting lessons, you're doing yourself a disservice.
And I would also add in, don't sell yourself short based on, what kind of voice or accent you have. A lot of people are really discouraged because they don't have that voiceover guy voice. But I think, when you're trying to cast something like Hidden Harbor, you want a range. You're looking for very specific things that as an actor you can never predict. So being able to do accents is great, but also don't sell your own voice short.
Right.
And don't be discouraged from trying it out, because you might be perfect for something you never realized might be out there.
Not everybody is going to have a voice that is perfect for the next Transformers movie.
Exactly.
You have to be yourself. You have to put yourself into everything. And while I do a lot of voice work, I don't have that deep resonating type of voice, unless, of course, I use effects, which sometimes I do. But for the most part, I just try to have fun with it. So if I'm doing like a goblin from World of Warcraft, I would kind of talk like this, and I'd be, animated and perfect and whatever. But it's a different type of voice. I can't do that heroic, low-toned growl like a lot of people, some people can.
Me neither. But I produce, so I don't really have to worry about it as much.
That is the nice part.
All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on. People, check out Signals Media for a bunch of shows, some of them by Pat himself. There's a lot of fun stuff over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Thanks. I'm here with Norm Sherman, who played the part of Detective Horn in the show. How are you doing, Norm?
Hey, doing good.
So the first question I'm asking everybody doing these interviews here is, did you have fun playing the part?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a blast playing it. It's a really fun part to play. And since I'm a nighttime vigilante detective anyway, it wasn't too much stretching, to really do it. I could kind of just put a microphone on and just be myself, Pretty cool.
Now, you have a big background in audio and storytelling. Are you into a lot of the old school radio stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah. Orson Welles is one of my, all-time inspirational favorites. His the production of the War of the Worlds that just set everybody going crazy back in the 30s was just it's just awesome to me. And that's one of the things that appeals to me about the Hidden Harbor is it's that era of when radio drama was just starting to become the big thing, and they were really getting it down. And you got all these people like Rod Serling and shows like Dick Tracy, and I remember used to listen to The Shadow a lot, and things like that before TV started killing everything in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
But especially detectives like Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson and stuff, and like the New Adventures of Sherlock. I was so into all of that stuff, and it's kind of one of the things that got me in the new media revival of podcasting, kind of exploring the same things that they were doing back then, but with this the internet landscape underneath us.
Yeah, it's been interesting seeing, I feel like, I don't know if it's just because I discovered it, but I feel like there's an emergence of audio drama that's happening. And I think it's because of the easeability, is that a word? The ease,
yeah, sure.
The ease that people have to listen to shows now, having, be able to subscribe to a podcast or download, audiobooks and things and listen in your car or on your phone. I mean, it makes sense that TV killed radio drama back in the day because it's just a new, interesting format that seems to add something that was missing. Although I'd still love audio drama, painting the picture in your head is often probably scarier or cooler or funnier than what somebody acts on the TV, especially if you look at old film when you're like, wow, the acting was really bad.
Oh, that's a great point, because in radio drama, they were just really finding their legs, and they were starting to master the art. And then you get TV, and you get all this like kind of shitty acting, and the film quality's bad. But it's just, I wonder sometimes if TV hadn't been invented, because we were just on the precipice of the golden age of science fiction, and people were so, that was about to just happen and blow up, and radio drama would have been all over that, because, America was obsessed, obviously, since we saw with the War of the Worlds, with like elements of speculative fiction. And it would have been interesting to see all that stuff take place in audio drama formats from the masters, rather than kind of shitty TV versions of things.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I watched recently, recently being yesterday, you probably can find it on Netflix or Amazon Prime, but it's a documentary called I Know That Voice. And it's about a bunch of the real, super famous voices from all kinds of cartoons. And they talk about their workflow and all that stuff. And it's really interesting because a lot of the people I know who do voice acting do it through just getting interested in it and getting involved in these independent projects and volunteering their time. And it gives a lot of perspective to see like how those people are and how they work like 2 hours a week for Disney. So that it's not like they're an employee there. Like it's just this weird freelance stressful thing where you're always trying to find work. but at the same time, you can just see them doing their voices and just talking about the craft, and you realize how good they are about jumping in and creating a character by just, they'll say, I take this voice here, and then they'll do it a little bit, and I'll take this voice here, and I merge them together, and then they start talking, and you're hearing like, Mo from The Simpsons. And you're like, whoa, it just jumps out. It's such a familiar voice because you're used to hearing it, but you realize how it was built and chosen is really an incredible talent that these guys have in terms of being just really solid actors that rely on just the voice.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I'm doing a voice project for John Moreau, and I've been trying the last couple of years. I mean, I must have done voice acting for 1,000 different things at this point.
Right.
I'm a volunteer, and I've been, time's been really stretching for me and difficult to keep up with my own projects. So I've been kind of trying to say no more often. But the thing about it is, as much as we complain, like as voice actors and editing about, how hard and time consuming it is, ultimately it is really fun. And that's why I always say yes, or, I have a hard time saying no, at least, because it's kind of like I did acting in high school and up through college. But the thing that appeals to me about it is you get that element of an audience removed and the stress that comes with that. And you can really craft, do some fine honing on the craft of how your voice sounds and the intonation and specific pitch of characters without the stress of having live performance. And the live performance aspect is exciting and also cool in its own way. But with that removed, you've got kind of a different art form with just you in your room with a microphone and a story, and that appeals to me a lot.
Did you have much background in that before you started the Drabblecast?
No. Actually, the first
that was your learning curve then.
yeah. I mean, I did like theater, but then I got a MacBook, and I was like, "Whoa, what's I was looking at the podcast features and starting to download those, and had GarageBand, and I'm a musician, so I knew about like some recording software and mics, but didn't know anything about internet publishing or markets and science fiction. I was just a fan. And so I, tinkered around with it enough until I started figuring it out and putting it together. That's why the early Drabblecasts, you can kind of tell I didn't know what I was doing as far as microphone quality and setup. And then all of a sudden it clicks. I think it's like episode 17, and it sounds like the modern show all of a sudden, because I was like, oh, I had noise reduction on too much. Or,
that's the front of the microphone.
Right, exactly. Had the microphone on the wrong side.
Yeah, I want to point out to people listening that if you're enjoying the audio drama that you're about to listen to, or others that maybe brought you to this one, maybe you're not aware, but there's some really awesome, I'd say, anthology audio fiction type of podcasts out there. And one of the best by far is the Drabblecast, which Norm has been doing for, man, how many years has it been?
God, like 8.
Yeah, it's such a fun show. The stories that he chooses are incredible. I've had the privilege of guesting for a couple of them as full cast stories, but it's just such a fun show, and the comedy bits that you do surrounding the show are awesome too.
Yeah, I try to make it kind of a show rather than just. Actually, it's interesting how it ties into our previous discussion about the 40s and 50s, and you've got that pulp era when kind of pulp magazines were big and starting to get bigger and bigger, and then that all died out. But there's also kind of a resurgence with the e-zine, kind of looking into that and bringing not pulp necessarily, but bringing short fiction and speculative fiction in short form kind of back to the mainstream through anthology magazines and things like that on the internet.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to do that. But yeah, we do weird fiction is what because I was trying to figure out how to brand it back in the day. And you've got Escape Pod that does science fiction, and you've got numerous horror podcasts, and I couldn't really pick because I don't know, I'm not such a big stickler on genre. I just like good stories.
Right.
So I figured weird is a good word, strange fiction for strange listeners, things that are like interesting or will kind of shock you or make you laugh, just something that's not normal, so it's kind of what we went with, and I think it works because it really opens the doors for us a lot by not having that specific kind of anchor to a type of genre.
Yeah, I think one of the main strengths of the show is that the stories are going to be a little bit out there and just different. I mean, but in a way that they're still incredibly well written. I mean, you must have an incredible slush pile because you always end up with just great stories there.
Well, I would say it's at least 70%, 30%, 70% solicitations. I wish that our slush pile, that I could say it to you, like, you're right. There are so many talented people sending to us, but we get our slush pile is big. Yes, it's a huge mound of steaming slush. But we're trying. We would love for that to be more accepted, but we have a very high standard these days, and most of the things that are really knockout stories come from ones that I find or an author that we commission specifically because we like the style or something. So there'll be original stories, but some of them are reprints too. But they don't always originate from the slush pile. Sometimes they do. You get these gems in there, and that's why we do all that work because you can get something from the slush. But there's a lot of competition for new stories. And the thing about audio, obviously, is you can sell your story to a print magazine or someplace else first and get a big fat chunk for the original publishing and then you can sell the reprint to audio like us. And so that's what a lot of people do. Well, they'll send the reprints to us for a lowered rate.
So do you have a recommendation for somebody who's just hearing about your show for the first time? Should they just start with the newest one? Is there an episode that you think is just one of your favorites that's a great starting point, or should they go to the beginning?
Yeah, well, I got a couple ways to answer. So you go to drabblecast.org. There's a thing on the top of the right that says new to the Drabblecast, and you want to click that, and it's got 10 episodes that were fan voted and editor picked as like the 10 most kind of friendly. A lot of we do kind of some serialized things sometimes with the host spots, and if you kind of come in the middle and pick a random episode, you might be a little bit lost if you didn't hear one before or whatever. These are ones that kind of stand on their own, and they're very strong stories that the majority of people have found they really enjoyed, and it's a good way to get yourself hooked. But another cool thing we started recently was a separate podcast that you can subscribe to from drabblecast.org called Drabble Classics, and that is bi-weekly. There's one every 2 weeks that comes out. That's got a new editor, Charity Helton, who picks a story or does contests in our forums of the older episodes that were favorites. Because I think we've got almost 380 episodes now, and some of them have multiple stories on them. So it's kind of a way for people that are just now getting into it to hear some of the backlog of stuff that the repeats and stuff like that are favorites of people. So those are two avenues I think you can jump in.
Yeah, I mean, and that's also speaks very highly to your consistency. I mean, that many episodes, and I mean, that's a lot lot of work.
God,
Very
yeah. I'm gonna look back at my life when I'm an old man and realize that like 80% of it at least was sitting in front of my computer screen alone in a room with the microphone, and I'm just gonna be like, oh God.
Yeah, but that speaks to the quality too. I mean, just there are certain shows that I just know that if I go listen to and subscribe to, I just feel like there's an elite group of shows, and I think Drabblecast is one of them. It's just great every time.
Oh, well, thanks, Brian. That's cool to hear. It's not just me. It's a great team of editors and people in there that all contribute, that all started from the community that I'm really happy to have working with me.
Yeah, that's why
and some of the artists that like volunteer their time just blow me away. I'm like,
oh right.
Awesome.
Yeah, how do you do the art part? I mean, is it a group? How many people have done art for the show? Do you know?
We got a ton. We have Bo Kyer is one of the fans that stepped up, and he became our art director. Mm-hmm. And he networks with a bunch of artists. We had a couple casting calls, or I guess not casting, but calls for art. And people sent in submissions, and he would kind of pick through. And anybody can volunteer for past episodes to do a cover piece. But I send him stories about 2 months in advance, and he sends them out to one of the huge legion of artists that are on the waiting list to get a story. And they send something back, and I'm almost always like, holy crap, it's a really awesome visualization. And they're always different because it's different people, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so cool to have like an image that created by a fan that is of that quality that goes along with the story. It just adds another element.
But they all seem to go together. Maybe it's just the way they're laid out, but they...
Yeah, that's probably Bo behind the scenes doing his weird little art stuff. I couldn't speak on that, but he probably makes some sort of unity happen with filters and things.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Well, sweet, man. Thanks a lot for being in the show, and thanks for talking to me today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing this thing with the full cast, and it's going to be interesting hearing it come from the page to real life. I know it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. Thank you for listening. Hidden Harbor Mysteries is released under a Creative Commons Attribution No Derivatives 4.0 license. Check out the website, and you can also look for more of my productions at lincolnaudio.com.